Happy beautiful people, welcome back to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. I am Mrs. Best. We are here to do a little video kind of reviewing and going over the Netflix dating show, which was titled Age of Attraction. I did watch the entire series. I did enjoy it. The concept of this show, for those who did not watch, was essentially you have a bunch of singles that come onto the show anywhere from ages, it seems, 21 as far up to age 100 at this point, we'll say. And the goal is for them to date without ever revealing their age. So anything else is okay for them to reveal, but they're not revealing their age. The point of the show is to prove that age ain't nothing but a number, as the Aaliyah album was titled. However, they also proved through this show that age is relevant as it relates to dating. I thought it was interesting. I didn't quite know how to cover something like this. In my head, I was kind of like, how would I go about reviewing this? Do I do it as a live stream? Do I just share my quick thoughts? I feel like because so many of these couples didn't make it, that is best to just do a review going over the reunion, which was on the Nick Viall podcast on YouTube. They've already hit, I believe, over 2 million views. So congrats to them. I see a lot of people that were upset that the reunion was on a podcast and not on Netflix, which I can understand, because if I pay for the Netflix membership, I want the reunion on Netflix. Not everybody pays for YouTube Premium to watch without ads. I also feel like Netflix would have consolidated the reunion because it was 3 hours. And I actually do subscribe and have YouTube Premium so that I can avoid ads. We know they still have their little brand deals and stuff that we see in videos everywhere on YouTube, but I was extremely annoyed with this Nick guy's podcast because they literally sat and talked. He literally just read a paper going over like ads for, I think one of them was for BetterHelp. It was annoying. I started to just fast forward through it. Like Netflix, there's a season 2, put the reunion on Netflix. But that was a very smart business move on Nick Viall because he gets all of that revenue because he's monetized. But I definitely can understand why the audience kind of felt away about having to watch the show on Netflix and then having to run on YouTube to go watch something else. But regardless, we are going to go over the reunion. And as I go over the reunion, what each couple said, I'll also discuss some of their highlights throughout the season that we saw on Netflix. So I'm going to be giving my thoughts. As always, y'all, Thug Life, do not be afraid to give your thoughts in the comments. I also want to take the time and welcome everybody in who is watching. I appreciate you for watching a bunch, and I do hope that you guys consider liking the video, consider subscribing to the channel, and all of those good things. I also encourage you guys to check the description of this video. There are links to several other great creators that I encourage you to check out, who also do lots of different reviews. But let's get into this reunion. So everybody was at the reunion on the cast. Nick made it sure for us to know that the cast was not paid to be there. Okay. The only person who did not show up was Pfeiffer. So Pfeiffer was the only cast member that didn't show up to the reunion. They didn't really touch on why she didn't show up at the reunion in the reunion. However, I looked online and I did see that somewhere was reporting that Pfeiffer said that she felt like the reunion was inauthentic. She didn't like the podcast or something. I don't know what that was about, but regardless, she's so young, I don't blame her. If she plans to never do reality TV again, fine, don't do the reunion. But if she wants to do reality TV again, I get it. Like, you're working with Netflix and now you're forced to be on this podcast. That's kind of weird. Let's get into the host. So Nick and his wife, please forgive me, y'all. I cannot remember this woman's name right now. The Vialls, however you say their last name, terrible host. They did okay during the show filming on Netflix because we got them in like small amounts and doses. I did not like or care for the host hosting the reunion. If you talk about yourself for too much or for too long, Sometimes that's okay, but other times it can be annoying. We are not watching this show for the host. I really don't care about their relationship. Yes, the host is 18 years older than his wife. I don't really care about his relationship. I don't know him from anywhere else other than this show. But I just kind of felt like every time the couples would try and say something, Nick would bring it back to him and his relationship. And it's not about you. Like, it was about the cast. So that did annoy me. I also don't like YouTubers that do that. Like, we can all talk about ourselves, our professions if needed, and things like that. But when you just go on and on and on about yourself or connect every single person's point to yourself, it's like, okay, you're a host, sir. But everybody looked good. We're going to start by going over the couples that are still together. So there were 6 couples in Netflix's Age of Attraction. Only 2 of them stayed together. This is one of the first couples that stayed together that's on our screen, which was Libby and Andrew. And they have a 16-year age gap. Well, he is now 39. She is now 23. Crazy age gap. Let me know how you guys feel about this age gap. Because personally, I mean, I guess I could say it's not horrible, because 16 years age gap is not horrible. I think what's made this age gap kind of rub me the wrong way, if I'm being entirely honest, is the fact that he is so much older. Now, if she were 39 and he was 50 something, I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it. But I just feel like her being 22 when this aired, like, baby, you've only been able to drink legally for a week. Like, you haven't even been able to drink that long. Like, what are we doing here? But they did well on the show. They didn't really have too many cracks in their foundation. Now, on the Netflix show, where I got worried with Libby and Andrew was where she met his kids. And I was also worried the entire time about her opinion of his kids. Same with Pfeiffer, because I believe they're in the same age group. But I don't know. I feel like at that age, you shouldn't really be playing step parent to anybody unless you yourself have a kid as well. Let me know if you guys feel different, but to be a 22-year-old stepmama with no kids, 22-year-old blonde baddie, okay. I just didn't understand it. I couldn't understand it. Now, this couple was a couple that I had a feeling they would last, but something about him kind of rubbed me off. Now, Andrew has 2 daughters. I can't remember the age of his daughters. I believe one of them's like 12 and the other might be 14. I know he had his daughters, he said, when he was Libby's age. And throughout the show, they did okay as a couple. There was something about it that kind of bothered me. And I think it's just that she was so young. And when we got the episode on Netflix where they brought the friends in and she met his friends made some comments that kind of let me know, like, oh, he's just used to dating young girls. It sounds like he has a type of young and blonde. So that kind of rubbed us wrong. Now, fast forward to the reunion. They are a couple that made it. They're still together. I think it surprised us all just because she was one of the youngest contestants on the show. Libby did most of the talking. Okay, Libby did most of the talking. Libby would not shut up. She had long, ethical, perfectly politically answered questions, which made me kind of look at them like, okay, this is a red flag. She's talkative and bubbly, and she is well-spoken, especially for her age. However, homegirl was not this talkative when the show was airing. She just was not this talkative. Now, Libby describes the biggest issue between herself and Andrew in their relationship as being long distance, which was weird because when asked, Andrew described long distance as being one of the easier things that they've had to deal with in their relationship. So she's making everything sound perfect, but I'm like, absolutely not. You guys are not perfect. They continue on and they say that they are so compatible because they do everything the same. They're exactly the same. They like the same things. They're both OCD. And I'm like, too much of the same is actually found by, I believe, like relationship experts and things to be found as a bad thing. Sometimes being that compatible is good. Other times it's not really good, especially when it comes to problem solving. And when people present their relationships as so perfect, I'm a person that never trusts it. I'm married. I'm with my spouse now almost 20 years. And I'm just like in my head, kind of like, it's not been perfect. It's been great. I've been the happiest I've been while with this man my whole life. I'm happy. However, it's not just been perfect and peachy and we get along and same. Like the way Libby was trying to paint things made me think that there's some issues in the relationship. And when we get to the discussion of kids at the reunion, it kind of made me think that even more, because it seems like Andrew is not going to have Libby meet her children till he knows they're going to be together forever. If you say you love this woman, wouldn't love mean that you're going to be together with somebody forever? So I find it very strange that he uses that as the reason she has not met his kids. But then he says that his other ex, his kids did get to meet. So I feel like he just doesn't want his kids to meet her because of how young she is. And I also kind of view that as a red flag, because if you trusted that you would be with this woman, you would let her meet your kids. Trust and believe he would. And the host made it messy, Mr. Nick. He was like, does that mean you're unsure of where things stand with Libby? And, you know, here's the thing. They've been together for a year. I don't have kids, so I don't want to say the timeline that someone should meet your kids, but I don't think that every person you date needs to meet your kids. If he was together with someone for a year who was his age, I personally would feel better about him introducing the kids to that person. The fact that he's only been together for a year with someone who's so young, who could get bored of him, I don't know. They didn't say much about their relationship dynamic. It sounds like she's gone out to visit him, but it doesn't sound like he's seen the kids. She hasn't even met the baby mama. I wish they would have asked more about how Libby feels about all of that, but I really think she's just naive to it, because this is probably her most adult relationship that she's had. The girl is 23 now. Let's not get it confused, because if we get it confused, Libby will get agitated. We saw her agitated that people were saying that she was 22 still. She said, I'm 23. Okay, Miss Libby, you are 23. But overall, they're still together. Let me tell you guys what I think will happen with this couple. I don't think they're going to make it in the long run. I'm sorry, I just don't. He's at a point in life where he's going to get ready to like settle down. It also sounds like his kids are older. Not old, but like by the time they get to a point where Libby's probably ready to have children, his kids will probably be much older, and that'll make the sibling bond probably difficult to a certain extent just because of those generational gaps. But I feel like something's going on in their relationship that they don't want to talk about, because when they talked to Andrew about stuff, he made some comments saying like, I didn't even want to come here, and Libby's the reason I'm here. And I'm like, wait, but why don't you want to come? Do y'all know what I mean? I'm like, well, why wouldn't you want to come here? Like, please expand, sir. Did something happen? Here's what I think happened. I think Andrew got his ass handed to him on social media in them internet streets, because he is a 40-year-old man chasing a 22-year-old. And for younger people, they may be like, oh, whatever, maybe they'll make it work. But I think for anybody over the age of 30, we looked at that like, what the hell? I can't see myself dating nobody that young. I actually had a friend when we were 31. She dated a 24-year-old guy. And I was like, this is not going to work. He felt so much younger than he actually was. And I could tell he was struggling when we would go out and stuff, because he didn't want to do too much and then be called young. But then he also, you know, he want to turn up. He's young. He wants to have fun. So I don't know. I wish Libby and Andrew the best, but there's definitely some stuff going on that they weren't wanting to talk about. She did most of the talking. He just sat there. He didn't really make eye contact with her or too many people. He didn't have too much to say. He wasn't the most engaged. I felt like he was more engaged when we watched them on the show. So I don't know what that's about. But if your daughters are 12 and 14, Andrew, or however old he said they are, hell, if your babies is over 6, they probably know about Libby now. And it's time to maybe start facilitating some of them FaceTime calls so y'all could get to meet. And I'm just saying, but I do wish them the best. And, you know, I'm glad they made it. The next couple we're going to get into is Vanessa and Logan. This is a couple that is also not only still together, but they are engaged to get married. Now, they have a 20-year age gap between the two of them, and they're journey on the show was a disaster episode after episode. It was always her tripping and wondering if he was really interested. And, I didn't really feel like Logan behaved in a way that was inappropriate for Vanessa while on this show. I just did not feel that way. I felt like Vanessa did have some insecurities, and she definitely owned that at the reunion. Some of the highlights for me that were funny at the show that they did speak on was the first time that Logan and Vanessa were intimate. He finished quickly, extremely fast. And I thought that was funny. He obviously got it together after that, but to me, that would have been a good thing. That means you really ain't had none in a minute, sir. Right on. I'm not mad at it. But Vanessa and Logan, I don't have much to say with them on the season because it was mostly Vanessa kind of struggling, but I did see they had some type of connection. I think that Logan was experiencing nerves. I know he was experiencing nerves. Like, you're presenting a relationship to your family, and the relationship that you're presenting, the person is significantly older than you, so I can understand it. Something that kept going throughout this show was the theme that if an older woman is with a younger guy, it is not as accepted as an older man with a younger woman, which is true. And I do feel like Vanessa and Teresa struggled with that. It's just Vanessa struggled with it and overcame it in a healthy way. I think that Vanessa's had a lot of growth. I think that she's able to self-reflect and is good at introspection. And I think that's why her and Logan were able to stay together long enough to get past the experience. Because couples, so I know a lot of people thought that they wouldn't make it because of how much they bickered. Sometimes when you bicker the way that they did, it wasn't really toxic or anything like Vanilla and Jorge or Teresa and John. I felt like it was truly just bickering. Sometimes that says you may do well together if that's as bad as it gets. But with Logan and Vanessa, I also feel like they're a couple that just getting to know somebody in front of a camera is difficult as hell. It's got to be more difficult than getting to know someone in person, which is already difficult. I feel like they just needed to not be on camera so that they could really figure out how they feel about the other, if that makes sense. I'm not mad at it. Not mad at it at all. I don't mind Vanessa, don't mind Logan. She admits to projecting things she went through on the past and dating onto him. And she says that watching herself back on television was helpful and useful. Logan says people thought they wouldn't make it because of the arguing, but he says that even though they had their struggles on the show, that he has always seen value in the woman that Vanessa is and what she could bring to his life, which I was like, that's why y'all are engaged, because that was just the perfect set of words. But they both seem very accountable for what they did right and wrong when on camera. They seem to be the type of couple that learns from their mistakes, talks about stuff, and moves forward. He also spoke about the fact that they bonded, and trauma bonding may have helped their progress a little bit because her aunt passed, her best friend passed. He had tore his Achilles twice and is going to have surgery. His father had a leg amputated. I mean, it sounds like they had a lot going on. I think that when couples go through bad things early on, yes, it's true, it can make or break a relationship. But if it doesn't break it, you're really solid. When I first met my husband, we went through hell. We actually both ended up homeless. Fun fact. And we are still together, still strong, doing well, and never been homeless since. And that was over 18 years ago. So, sometimes going through hard things can help you to stay with people, not always because of a trauma bond, but it's hard to find people who know how to support you through stuff. And when you see someone supporting you while also going through it themselves, it's golden. It's priceless. So good for Logan and Vanessa. I wish them well. I wish they would have asked more questions about baby planning, but honey, it is 2026. And I'm sure in 2027, 8, 9, 30, this lady could be 50 and science to find a way to get her pregnant. So I wish them the best. They came off mature. They came off sincere. That's something I cannot say for most of the people on this cast. So good for them. Let me know, to those who watch this review, if you watched this show. If you did watch the show, how do you guys feel about Logan and Vanessa? Because I'm surprised they made it, but my God, I'm glad they did because they were genuine. Unfortunately, only 2 couples made it for this entire series of the 6 couples. Now we're going to get into our couples that broke up and did not make it together. The first couple we're going to discuss is Teresa and John. Teresa is difficult. She gives me, I don't think she's racist, so please don't put that on me, but she acts like a Karen at times with how she handles stuff. It seems like Teresa really struggles to accept or hear when she's wrong. And she makes a lot of excuses. John checks out. And I'm honestly surprised that this couple is not together. I thought that this would be a couple that would last. But in hindsight, after I marinated and stewed, I am not surprised at the same time that they are broken up. And I'm going to tell you guys why. Teresa made age a problem the whole season. Then this whole reunion, she made age a problem. Teresa lied to her children about his kid, or about his age, and tried to gaslight the world into thinking she did not lie and wanted them to get to know him for him. Girl, they could tell by looking at this man that he is significantly younger than you. Teresa is beautiful, but we could tell from looking at this man that he's younger than you. No shade to the colorless women. It seemed like once they hit 40, I could tell you 40. And that's okay. Teresa is beautiful. But why would you come on a dating show about ageless dating to complain about age the entire time? I don't understand why she did that. Now, throughout the series, there was sometimes she snapped, like she snapped on Leah for questioning her, keeping the age a secret from her grown children. I just can't. I can't with Teresa. So Teresa says that things were good with her and John until the Daily Mail, a very popular blog, shout out to the Daily Mail, call me y'all. But she says the Daily Mail wrote an article about her once the show dropped. And she says that another cast member, as well as John's sister, made her feel bad about her age. And this bitch pulled out them white women tears. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? Teresa looks great. She looks great. And you could tell that even when she was in her prime and probably 21, or even when she was John's age, she probably looked great. Some people are just beautiful. She gives beautiful woman. So it is annoying as hell that this lady is crying because John's sister is concerned about him being with a woman old enough to be his mother. You knew this was a concern. You vocalized it. Now you see it and watch it back and you want to cry about it? What is this? I agreed with John. Why does my sister matter when it's me and you in the relationship, baby? Why does anybody else matter? External factors don't matter. I am dating and married to a man who is shorter than me. Do you know that women sometimes be saying stuff to me in the bathroom at shows and stuff like, oh, how do you deal with that? Or, oh, girl, they really be saying stuff. And it's like, that's fine. People will always have their opinions about your relationship, even if you have what the world would view as perfect, check every box. You can't be worried about outside factors. You got to just worry about what brings you joy. So I wish that Teresa was not so insecure in that way, because that's what it is. She's insecure. Because if she wasn't insecure, this wouldn't be too much of a problem. Look at Leah, 41, says she's a woman that knows what she wants. 15 years younger than Teresa. She don't come off as this insecure. Teresa is insecure. This is not an age thing. She herself is insecure. And I feel like it's probably always been that way, but I also feel like she's too prideful to address it. And yes, you can be insecure and also have too much pride to address it. So I found it odd. Their scenes went on and on at this reunion. John says that Teresa texted him saying she feels disgusting when she goes out with him because people look at her like, why is she so old? And, you know, Teresa tries to say that age is not a factor. And John says that they tried to go about their relationship, you know, making age not a factor, but that Teresa consistently made age a factor. John says he deserves to be with somebody who feels comfortable, not disgusted when they go out. And he said, Teresa, you deserve the same thing as well. And Teresa just was not like really accepting it, which I thought was odd. I think Teresa's also high maintenance and emotionally insecure. she needs to date people who are her age, but I don't feel like she's turned on by men her age. Like, I just don't. So maybe Teresa date like somebody over 40, because I thought 38 was cutting it. I think Teresa should date maybe 45, 10 years younger than her. I don't think she's a person that could do anybody too much younger than her. I also think she needs to date somebody that's pretty done with life and has some gray in their beard, because if they don't look older than her, this lady will have some sort of a fucking meltdown. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. She reminded me of Rhonda from Married at First Sight. Check out our reviews. I did those reviews with James from the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel on my channel. But check out the reviews from Married at First Sight, because my goodness, she reminds me of Rhonda from this past season. But John gets quiet after so long with Teresa talking, and Teresa said that she only told him that she felt disgusting while out with him to get a response from him, which disgusted me and showed and proved she's manipulative. And that's probably why her ass is single at her big age, because you said something to him that broke your relationship. Because who wants to hear someone feels disgusting when they're out with him? But then to hear that you said it because you wanted him to reassure you and tell you you were pretty, that's sick. He tells you you're pretty and shows you by wanting to go out with you regardless of your age. He's not concerned about the world because you're so pretty that he only sees you. So you're going to start some shit and say some disparaging, ignorant shit just so that he can tell you you're pretty some more, essentially. Or reassure her. Teresa's full of shit. Teresa's full of it. It's sad because they had a great connection and he wanted to be with her. She is in her own way. She needs to really, and I'm not saying this to be mean, Teresa's successful, beautiful, looks like her kids are successful. She has a great career. She looks great. The problem is her. She is her own problem. I'm not saying she hasn't been hurt and dealt with some bad people, but I feel like she hasn't been accountable with her own struggles. And she has to really work on herself before she dates someone else. She also lacks accountability. Colorless activity, though. They're trained in lacking accountability and pulling out tears. But, you know, they try, I guess they're still cool, even through all of this. John tries to say that it wasn't fair that some people on the cast were able to avoid their kids meeting their partner while Teresa had to introduce her children to that. And they said just because her kids are grown, they're still her children and it's a big deal for them. Go straight to hell, John and Teresa, privileged asses. Huh? The other people's kids are underaged. There are literal laws that are preventing them from being here. And they're underage. Their development can be impacted. Teresa's kids may be in shock or disappointed, but it's not going to tear them up or fuck up their development psychologically. It will for the mothers, though. Don't ever compare underage nothing to grown kids. That irritated the crap out of me when they tried to do that. But it doesn't look like there's a chance they'll get back together. John seems pretty over Teresa. I don't blame him. She seems exhausting. And I just think she has to work on herself before they could get and go any further. It's just a fact. We're going to get into Vanelle and Jorge. Vanelle, he's attracted, yes, but as soon as he told you he was 60, that should have been a red flag. Why are you alone at this age, beautiful and fine and attractive, and you're an attorney? There's something wrong with him. Vanelle is at the age where I expect people to be single and figure it out. Such a pretty girl. Such a pretty girl, by the way. Now, Vanelle and Jorge have the largest age gap of anybody on this show, 33 years. He's 60, she was 27. Crazy. Absolutely insane. Things were going well with Vanelle and Jorge. I believe there was someone else she was going to choose, but things were going well with them in the series until it seemed like things went left when Vanelle told Jorge she was celibate Again, celibacy is something you practice until marriage. Jorge kept touting at the show, celibacy, you know, that's what nuns and priests do. Stick to the law, sir. That is not just what nuns and priests do. The definition of celibacy, if you go to Google, is abstaining from sex until you are married. And if you are married or a nun or a priest, you're abstaining for a religious reason. That is what celibacy is meant to be. Abstinence is what Vanel was doing. But Vanel, regardless, you can't tell somebody that you do not want to have sex and then expect for them to help you get off while they get nothing. That's crazy. I don't know if that's something the younger generation is doing, but that's crazy. You're teasing people. And to me, that's actually dangerous behavior because you don't know what you could be triggering in somebody doing all of that. But Vanel and Jorge broke up after he defended her against somebody who was acting crazy on the streets of Toronto. She didn't like that he defended her like the fool that she is because she's young and dumb. And he was like, well, I'm not budging. I'm going to defend her. She didn't like it. So they ended up breaking up. She just seems to shut down when talking to him. With Vanel, I don't think she's used to not being a powerhouse in the room. And I feel like being with Jorge, not only him 33 years older than her, but he's an attorney. I don't think she felt confident communicating with Jorge the way she wanted to because she was smart, but she did pick fights over dumb stuff, which everyone does in relationships. But Vanel does come across as mature in every department of her life except for a relationship. She is very immature when it comes to relationships, and it did show with Jorge. Now, and I did respect her for saying the age gap wasn't the issue because I don't think it was fully the issue. I think she was part of the issue and he was part of the issue because he's bullheaded and she's bullheaded. Neither of them were willing to compromise. Neither of them were willing to even agree to disagree. They just went their separate way and got mad if they weren't in agreement. So I do think they both have their little toxic traits. But I did think the lines were blurred with the abstinence. She did acknowledge that she probably communicated it the wrong way. But I also feel like Jorge wasn't in a space where he wanted to deal with a woman who was abstinent. I feel like he wanted to get the draws. I genuinely do. But the biggest thing they discuss is the issue with kids. So Jorge did not tell Vanel that he had kids until like a couple episodes in, which was crazy. And I thought it was strange. I feel like Jorge pulled a Teresa and didn't want to tell Vanel about his kids because his kids are the same age as Vanel. But whatever the heck, he says that he wasn't trying to have people on TV who didn't really want to be on TV and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, you withheld information, sir. You should have told her that up front. But he still makes it seem like he's willing to have a kid. So something about Jorge just comes off as disingenuous to me. I don't know what it is, but Vanel and Jorge still have chemistry. But I don't think it's relationship chemistry. I think they just need to get together and, I think that's what they need to do. I do. I don't think it would go no deeper. Maybe if they do that, they could get past stuff, but they're not going to do it because she wants to be abstinent. And I respect that. I think it's a wonderful thing for her to do that. And the right man will wait. But stop trying to dry hump these men if you're not giving them no cookie, girl. I'm just saying, that's all. But I like Vanel. I don't think she'll struggle in the dating area. She's younger. She'll learn with experience and with time. As for Jorge, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, and he does give off somebody who's like set in his ways. He's how he is, and there's nothing that's going to change it. It's just how it goes. But let me know if y'all think they're going to get it popping again. Let me know how y'all feel. Let me know how y'all feel. Not much I have to say here because their breakup was so explosive, and they gave us so much on the show. But Vanel did look irritated to see him, but she also kind of looked like she wanted to sit on it, and he looked like he wouldn't mind letting her sit, but she's abstinent. Girl, revoke the cause and see what you're missing. Just do it. Just do it, Vanel. We're going to get into Pfeiffer and Derek. This picture of her, she looks young. She looks young. She looks like a damn middle schooler or high schooler. That baby is young. And he looked young in the face too. But he looked like somebody who dates younger girls too. But Derek and Pfeiffer's story was an interesting one. I respected Derek because he also has kids. He was very honest with Pfeiffer about his kids. I do think his kids are a red flag because one of his babies is 5. I said, that's a young child, so you really got to be careful because the step parent could become a bonus parent in real life. Pfeiffer did not show up to the reunion. Derek reveals to us that they broke up. I am not surprised. The whole season, Pfeiffer, first of all, she talks like a bro, which I loved. Loved Pfeiffer. She seems like a cool girl. I would have preferred to see Pfeiffer on a show like Love Island or, something more for the younger crowd, not like this. She was reserved and sweet. She was so afraid when introducing him to her parents. I mean, she scooted away from him. Pfeiffer is a child. Pfeiffer, see, Libby is 23, but I feel like Libby has lived a little bit of life, done things. Pfeiffer gives me someone that grew up with parents that loved her, which is great, but I don't feel like she's been through the most. I feel like she's open and non-judgmental, but she's definitely gives college student. Like, I don't look at this person and see an adult that is baked and ready yet. I'm gonna still leave her in the oven for another 60 minutes. Like, the turkey's not cooked. That's Pfeiffer. But I like her. She's beautiful. This is another cringy relationship because I felt like Derek being 20 years older than her and her just being in her 20s was problematic. Again, I'm in his age range. I think it's questionable that you're attracted to someone who looks like they're underage. That's just my opinion. But she is a beautiful girl. Some people can't help how they age, so it is what it is. So a month into their relationship, after the cameras went down, these two broke up. I'm not surprised. Pfeiffer showed so much resistance and reluctance to every little step with him. I feel like she just wanted to complete the process, but I feel like she knew she didn't really want to be with him. He kind of made it seem like she wasn't honest about her lifestyle because he saw that she lived in like a fraternity house or sorority house. She's 22. So what? She has roommates. Let her be. Don't fault her. But you didn't consider that when you heard her age? I mean, because these people on this show went to live with each other, kind of like Married at First Sight. But before they lived with each other, that's where they exposed the age. So I felt like Derek was trying to throw a little bit of shade at Pfeiffer, and I didn't like that. He was trying to throw that dry shade. And my thing with Pfeiffer is she's not here to defend herself. We only got one side of the story. Basically, moving was too much for Pfeiffer. Derek also said that peer pressure could have been a problem and that her friends influenced her. And he says it was because of the age gap, which I felt was a cop-out. Libby did step up and defend her friend as well. You could tell her and Pfeiffer are cool. And she was like, that is not true. She's not in school, but she was. But regardless, don't comment on her living situation and things like that if she's not here. He could have just spoken about the relationship. I felt like he was trying to throw shade, but Derek, all of this stuff, you should have considered dating someone this young. So they're not together. I don't know what to tell them. We gonna move it on to Leah and Chris, because what the hell else can we say? Leah and Chris, my goodness. Hot Mess Express served up on a platter. Chris is kind of fine, though. I'm not gonna lie. He is a handsome man, but he's chasing TV. He's disingenuous. And if I see him on any other relationship show, I'm not going to cover it. I don't believe that he's genuine and trying to find love. I think he's trying to be on TV because he couldn't get onto Survivor. And what's funny, I am a Survivor fanatic. He does look like the type to play Survivor. Now, Leah and Chris got together. Things were great at first. I personally think he just liked her skin tone and body. Her body is banging. Her skin is everything. I never thought Chris liked her. I felt like it was more physical. I was surprised to learn that Leah and Chris never had sex. But throughout the series, like, things were okay, but Chris seemed noticeably agitated and done. Leah would try to spend time with him, just do regular stuff. And he would be like, oh, I want to nap on my own. I want to do this by myself. I don't need you to come with me to the gym. I'm like, what's wrong with you, bro? So he was very hard on Leah. He just did not seem interested. She still was a good sport. I will say that about Leah, and I think that is the age thing. She definitely behaved in a mature manner with how he behaved. But Leah tells us at the reunion she had no clue about the true way that Chris felt about her. Specifically, she points to the scene where his mom came and he made it seem like everything was good. And the moment Leah left the table, he was like miserable and in tears. And I'm like, well, why are you crying? You signed up for the show and did it yourself. You can walk away from it. Why are you crying? Like, I kind of felt Leah on that. Like, as soon as I walk away, nigga, you crying? What? That's what we're doing? So to me, it just gave that he was a mama's boy and not ready for monogamy. That's what I thought at first. But then the cast kept dropping stuff about him. And there's a story that's told about how Chris told Leah that he shopped for an ex and he bought a girl a Prada purse, which tell me he got some money. And so he took Leah on a date and they're shopping and he was like, oh, I want to buy you this stuff. And he got mad because she made a comment about a jewelry store because she didn't like everything that was in the store, but was like, I could find something. If you're going to date Black women, Chris, understand this. If you take us to a store and do something nice for us and we would not ordinarily shop at this store, we're going to be like, I don't know about this place, but I could find something. I could work it out. That's what we do. I feel like that was just like a cultural difference right there because he took it as something so much more. And then Leah had a point. You bought another bitch a Prada purse, but we're actually living together and you have a problem buying something for me? Like, do you like me or do you not? So the cast keeps asking him, as well as the host, like, do you like Leah? Do you like Leah? Did you like Leah? And he could not seem to admit that he liked her or not. And it just does seem like he strung her alone. He then tells, instead of saying yes or no to liking Leah, this sad ass fucking Survivor sob story that's just going to make people dislike you more. About how he was training to go to Survivor and chasing a reality TV dream and had to have surgery, missed out on that opportunity. And seems like this is his first time back on TV since then. I'm like, huh? So you're just on TV to be on TV? This is a dating show. People are trying to find love, you piece of shit. Like, do you not understand that? You crybaby ass mama's boy who's entitled. I do not like Chris. I don't like him. He lacks accountability. He couldn't admit that he was wrong. He wasted this lady's time. And I felt for Leah because she was like my best friend. Her mom, who was like a mother to me, passed away. I still stuck in it for filming because I thought our connection was real. You could have told me the truth. I would have went home. And that's the thing with Chris. I think with the younger ladies, because he's handsome. I think with younger women, Chris is used to being so handsome that women like probably fawn over him and like do the most. He's not used to a woman saying, I would have walked away from you. I didn't give a fuck. My friend was more important. I don't think he believed Leah when she was saying that. And he just came across as really unlikable. Now, Teresa threw Chris under the bus and the whole cast agreed that apparently, so the way this show worked is in the beginning of the show, we saw all of the singles mingling to make connections, not knowing ages. People were saying that Chris and another single had made an alliance and pact to stick together to the end of the show, as if they're on Survivor or something, so that they can have more screen time. Everybody contested that they had heard this, to where Chris had to admit it and be like, well, someone approached me. And then I'm like, to top it off, then Nick announces that Chris will be a part of the next season of Netflix's The Perfect Match. I do not watch The Perfect Match because Chris is on it. I don't know if I'm going to cover it, but if anybody who's watching this review would like me to cover The Perfect Match, I do have Netflix and I'm totally willing to cover it. But the fact that he went from one show to the next, it is like, you guys are going to see the real me. Basically, you just got exposed for being a fake reality star. You're one of those people that does what the audience doesn't like, and you take away the reality of reality TV. We know that some of it is you being walked through stuff with, you know, production and things like that. But then we also know that people are actually hoping to get something out of it. People like Chris are dangerous to reality television, especially when it comes to dating shows. And I hope that Netflix does better and gets rid of him. But let me know if y'all are going to watch The Perfect Match. If y'all are going to watch, I will watch it with you. I will cover it if you guys are interested. But that is really all I have for Age of Attraction. The show has been renewed for a season 2, which is pretty cool. which is pretty cool. They are casting right now. So anybody interested in trying out for the perfect match, I know that they are casting. Go to perfectmatchcasting.com and check that out. I am married, so I definitely will not be there, but I'm definitely curious to hear whether you guys did or did not watch the show. If you did watch, let me know. If you didn't watch, let me know why. Let me know how you feel, your final verdicts. Like, comment, and subscribe as well, beautiful people. The next live that I will have here on my channel will be tomorrow, which is Wednesday for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. I will be doing that live with James from the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel. But other than that, I appreciate everybody for watching, and I will see you beautiful people on the next review. Thank you.